Okay, here we
Thank
go.
you, Swami.
All right, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to this session. So, social media platforms, which ones should I pick? And Akhil had gone through Twitter really well. I'll show you some of the other platforms as well. No disclosure. So I'll talk about what platforms are actually out there, how do you pick, then what do you do, followed by key points. So in terms of platforms, what are those that are out there? And let me explain this, especially relevant this morning would be, let me explain this with coffee. Facebook, when you want to say you like coffee. On Twitter, you want to say you're drinking coffee. With LinkedIn, it's a professional site, so you want to say you're good at drinking coffee. On YouTube, it's watch me as I drink coffee. Anybody know what this sign is?
Pinterest.
Pinterest. Here's a collection of pictures and recipes of coffee drinks. Instagram, vintage picture of me drinking coffee. This one is an interesting one which I found on the web. I'm a Google employee who drinks coffee. No one else really uses Google+. So what are the most popular networks out there? When you look at it globally, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger actually just dominate the scene, the global scene, and the penetration is just incredible. As Akhil said, this runs into billions and billions of people. So really, worldwide penetration is really high. In the United States, on the other hand, it's dominated by YouTube and Facebook, mainly. And an interesting note is that as of last year, Facebook users, if you look at them worldwide, India surpassed the United States as the most users. Now, I don't know whether the scientific sessions organizers knew that when they were selecting the ethnic composition of the speakers here. But it's true, this just happened last year. So among the most popular networks between Twitter and Facebook, if you look at the age range of people, I always get told when I'm busy on Twitter or tweeting something, I get told that, well, this is, for millennials. And I look at my fellows and, half of them are not on Facebook. And they say, well, we're not on it because it's, we're not in that generation, the teens and stuff like that. And if you look at this graph, it actually shows you that the number of Facebook users is actually less among the younger age group, and it's higher among the older age group, and it's actually increasing. One of the reasons why that switch happened a few years ago was that Facebook started generating content targeting people with money because they needed the ad revenue. So the young ones dropped out because the content was no longer geared for them, it's geared for us. Now, Twitter has some exciting algorithms, and they tailor content to you, right? And so what we use in our professional world as an advantage of that, as Akhil said, was, it's like drinking water out of a fire hose. So the algorithms in Twitter are able to filter content for you. So when an interesting article comes out that is tailored to my content, it actually comes on my Twitter feed. I don't have to go through a table of contents for Jack or circulation to actually get all that data. So how do you pick, or which one is right for you? You can pick it to express your professional opinion or your personal opinion. Remember, though, that both come with different sort of connotations and consequences. You can learn about things that are professionally important to you or personally important to you, and you can stay informed. So it's like that pyramid that Akhil talked about as to whether you want to be a creator of content right at the top or a consumer of content right at the bottom. And it's usually a 90-10 kind of rule that most people on Twitter or social media or Facebook are generally consumers of content. And if you're on Facebook or Twitter, you know what I mean. So I like to think about this as there are social media platforms that are dominating the public domain. There are some social media platforms that are like a club, and there are some like a small family. So if you look at Twitter, this is like the public domain. When you say something, it's really out there for everyone to see. Professionally, you can use Facebook as a club because you can pick who actually is an acquaintance or network on your Facebook profile. You can actually pick that. In Twitter, that's hard to do. You have followers, and then people can follow your content. So whatever you put out there is out in the public domain. There are closed groups that can be used for closed group discussions on Facebook. So it becomes sort of a club, and I'll show you examples of that. WhatsApp is more like a family. So it's a group of people who actually know each other's telephone numbers, which is the prerequisite, and then you can create a small group of people who have really shared interests. Whether it's professional, whether it's personal, whether it's family, or whatever it is, it becomes useful to communicate with each other through that. But you've got to know someone's phone number, so it adds a personal sort of element to it. So Facebook is generally used for expression and participation. You can stay connected with people that you know, whether it's professional or personal, either way, it doesn't really matter. Twitter is interesting, and Akhil went through this very nicely, and it generally is used for participation and professional development among medical professionals. It's really easy to use, and Akhil went through the use of hashtags and tagging people to expand your profile. You can use it to express your professional opinion or even just learn about things that are happening in your area. Now, talking about the value of social media in publications, in academic promotions, I'm reminded of this cartoon. It's all very well making discoveries, saving lives, and improving the world, Roger, but your research is barely making any impact on social media. And so this has become the new alternative metric to talk about what's happening in the professional world. There's some great pearls of wisdom that you get from social media as well. I like this one. New to writing papers, here's my rule of thumb. When you think the paper is almost ready, you're about halfway there. So it's a good teaching points for emerging academics. If you're writing an academic medical paper and unsure of what your central message is, don't. We've used it very successfully for journal clubs. Now, the first journal club was started by Osler at McGill University in Montreal in 1875. We started the first ASE journal club in November of last year and then carried it on. This is an example. We advertised this on Twitter, the second journal club, and Bill Zogby was participating in this. And there was so much discussion, so much rich discussion on the topics of LV filling pressure. I think a lot of people gained so much from it. You could tag it through websites which track metrics on the hashtag use. And look at these numbers. You would never get these kind of numbers from any other platform other than something like Twitter, where you could engage and interact with someone like Bill Zogby, who, people value his professional opinion. And there were several other folks in this who were very active. 780,000 impressions that it reached. It's quite incredible. You would never get this in a closed room with a journal club. So an echo club, this is something like what Facebook does. So that's a club of closed group users. It's a closed group, so you have to be invited into it. It's like a club, like a country club almost. 12,000 members in this group. And most of these people are consumers. There are very few creators of content. But then it's a closed group where you don't get inundated with other stuff that is not related to your professional life. So these are very useful and important. There's groups in all sorts of categories. This is one with cardiac anesthesia. We created a WhatsApp group. This is like a family you can actually pick. You can pick the people that are in it. This is a Duke Cardiovascular Education group. We do it on WhatsApp. We don't allow PHIs on it. We don't do it after hours. It's a good tool to teach fellows and residents. And what we've done with our cardiac anesthesia group is we've got an Echo Trivia WhatsApp group. And what we do with that is that we ask questions on it. And the fellows can respond, and they get stars. Whoever gets it right gets a star. And whoever gets the most stars for that month gets a $10 Starbucks gift card from me. And they just love it. Not the Starbucks gift card, but they just love the fact that they can interact with people in the department, and they can get good learning from it. And it's that WhatsApp group, and you see the answers coming in right away. We try and do it, so that people aren't distracted. But it's great to keep people involved. So then the thing is, what do you do? So here's what, and Amir will talk more about what you shouldn't do, and what the limitations and pitfalls are, but generally pay attention while walking. Your Facebook status can update, and of course, in case of fire, you should exit the building before tweeting about it. So that's what you shouldn't do. But again, tweet others how you want to be tweeted. And so follow some professionalism, some altruism, integrity, responsibility, and respect. The more you step away from some of these while expressing your opinion or creating content, you go into some pretty shady waters where responses will be similar. So what you have to expect in the public domain is when you express an opinion that does not follow something like this, your responses will also not follow something like this, right? So you may be setting yourself up for failure. I'll end with a few quotes that I found on the internet. These aren't Einstein's. These are smart people who use social media really well. Engage, enlighten, encourage, and especially just be yourself. Social media is a community effort, and everyone is an asset. And social media is addictive precisely because it gives us something which the real world lacks: immediacy, direction, and value as an individual. So to summarize, the world has changed. Our sociability hasn't, though. The tools have, certainly. You've got to choose your platforms wisely, but above all, be professional. and exercise courtesy and respect, because there's a great deal to be learned. Thank you very much for your attention.